Hello, everybody out there in Twitterland, YouTubes, wherever you are finding this particular episode of Fighting the Void. I am Ginger, and with me today is the one, the only, the inimitable, because who would want to, Mr. Sutherland. And he is going to be with me today to discuss some gun stuff.
Yes.
We're going to talk pews. We talked about doing this a while back, and I finally had an opening in my schedule. It's okay, we got to do this
Yeah,
before the country finishes burning down around us.
exactly.
And
People have to hear the words of one autistic man just going, "Ree!" Why the hell not?
and if you hear that, then it's
Yeah.
good to have the gun handy,
Yeah.
in case.
Ree! Danger!
I'm just saying. Little background on first myself is I've probably mentioned this before in the show. I am actually I'm relatively new to the gun game yet. I only started actually getting into them 2-3 years ago, and basically I was never anti-gun by any means. I was, kind of a. I imagine there probably is some sort of reasonable gun control you could do type person, but yeah, I come from an area where my family hunts and everything, and just everybody had them, and I just kind of guy. I didn't really see the point. Other than it's like you do it, fine. I don't care. You do you, and I'll be over here not, wondering why. And
I will
and part of
mind
that,
my business.
right? And part of that is, to be honest, it's some of it's what you grow up with, and I grew up watching MacGyver and reading Batman. Therefore, I was not a big gun guy.
Classy.
That's I'm not gonna lie, that's a big part of it. But then, sure enough, the world's a crazy place. There's a whole bunch of crazy people in it. And, I actually did some reading, talking, and some thinking, and it's like, you know what? Yeah.
Might be
in
onto
fact,
something, yeah.
Yeah, in fact, you know what? Come to think of it, there's probably no reason why I shouldn't be able to have a tank. If you actually follow out the logic of the Second Amendment.
Oh, yeah,
and, and the way they put it into practice back in the day. But anyway, that's basically me. I had guns before. My dad got me a shotgun, like a good dad in Michigan would, and he had passed on his first handgun to me, as we were talking about before the show, a high point 40 caliber, which is it's special.
It's better than a sharp stick in the eye, I guess. But
right,
Woo!
Exactly, right, and it's better than chucking rocks at somebody, as you said.
Yeah,
it's not maybe not much, but yeah, whatever. Then that was it. That was all I had for a while. I didn't even shoot them more than like maybe once a year. And then, now though I've upped my gun collection by collection. It's still overstating it to call it a collection.
Yeah.
But
it's like how when I call my like little, just my maybe 4 or 5 stuff, I'm like, yes, this is my arsenal. I'm like, okay, just simmer down there, Punisher.
It's a start, is what it is.
It's a start, yeah.
I've got, I've gotten 4 guns since then, and well, there you go. And, I have enough guns to fill the hands of everybody in my house now, and that's a good thing. Not everybody can actually handle a gun yet. Well, I have enough guns to fill the hands of everybody that can handle it. How's that?
That works, yeah.
And probably 1 or 2 beyond that.
Yeah.
And I'm still gonna get more because as I learn more, there's holes to be filled. But
exactly,
though, I think from talking to you online, you know actually a lot. I think you know a lot more about guns than I do.
I know a little bit anyway.
Now, have you been into guns and everything basically since knee high to a grasshopper?
So okay, generally the same background as you can get, I guess. I mean, pretty much all of my mom's side of the family hunts. There's quite a few on my dad's side that do as well. Mostly what got me into it, I think, was just being a kid, being antisocial, and just being like, I like video games. I'm like, man, there's some cool stuff in these. And then I didn't really act on it for like the longest time until like maybe, I don't know, a couple of years ago, something like that. Like my grandpa, when I was 13, he gave me my first 22. Then a few years after that, he gave me my first hunting rifle, which love dearly. It's a great thing. after that, it was my paternal the first one was my mom's dad. Then my dad's dad gave me a very nice Smith and Wesson 357, like, you know, 6.5 inch barrel, stainless. It's beautiful, right? And
Yeah.
up until like beyond that, I didn't really think about it. I was like, oh, this is just kind of a cool thing to have. But then I don't know what exactly it was that clicked. I think it was just like something that was like, you need to have a more firm handle on things and like be able to defend yourself. And I was like, okay. And then I just kind of dove into it. I was like, I need to know as much as I can, basically. So just kind of dove into a YouTube hole and ask people I know, because I'm like, all right, I know a lot of people who know stuff more than I do. So let's just ask all the questions, basically, you know? But I just know a couple things because I've been like, I need to just rewatch the same thing over and over to like cement the information in my brain properly.
Absolutely. Now, getting right into it.
Yes.
We've got Pastor Greg over there. He's asking, okay, so force gun, home defense, and it's good to throw that in there because there's all kinds of different considerations for what gun you want, depending on what you want it for.
Yeah.
If the primary concern is home defense, like you're not going to get a concealed carry or anything like that, it's going to stay at home.
Yeah.
What's the kind of thing that you would be looking for there?
I think if I was like, for where I'm at in the great People's Republic of California, I'm probably not going to have options to things that I would love to use, like I don't know, like a short-barreled AR if I could get a hold of it. Because frankly, if there's people in my house, I want them to hear a deafening boom and just be like, "Oh, hey, I'm about to meet Satan." So I don't want to. I'm going to go ahead and cease and desist right now.
Right.
But for where I'm at, I guess I would probably just have to go with like a shotgun or a handgun or something like that, because I'm not like the worst pistol marksman. I think if under pressure, I'm definitely going to lose a lot of accuracy. But
you and everyone else on the planet.
Yeah, obviously, especially
we'll get into things like training and stuff.
Yeah.
After a little bit here, because that's something a lot of people don't think about.
Well, and another thing I think some people maybe not think about was like, because I don't have kids. I don't really have a lot of other people in the house. I know that if for some reason someone comes to where I'm living, there's like only one other person in the house and they're behind me. So if I have to blow through a wall, I'm pretty safe if I'm using my shotgun, for instance.
Right.
So double out buck all the way, basically.
Right. Yeah. So you've got a certain level of concern that is different, say, than from mine.
Yeah. Exactly.
I've anybody who's watched the show before knows I've got kids, and obviously, depending on the time of day and everything, I may or may not know exactly where they are in the house. So I'm going to be needing to, one, be very aware of where I'm shooting.
Yes.
And two, hopefully, hopefully aware of where they are at the time. Hopefully, not just shooting blindly through a wall. So, for myself right now, what I've got going on is I've got all of my handguns, which I've got 3 of them right now. They're all loaded with hollow points.
Yes.
The reason for that is the design of the hollow point. It mushrooms out and everything. And basically the idea is that it delivers all of its force and keeps all of the force inside the body to do the most amount of damage.
It doesn't overpenetrate and go like into another wall or something.
Exactly. The idea is that it's supposed to not go through walls. Now, studies have shown that that's about 50-50. It's better than going with like a full metal jacket round. That will go through almost anything you have in the house. Yeah. There is almost nothing that is going to stop a full metal jacket 9mm round in your house. Yeah. It's that whole thing in movies where they stop when they hit drywall. No, that does not happen.
No. I think I need to look into it actually, because I not with 9mm, but I think I don't know, maybe I'm misremembering. I feel like I've heard there's some people say that like the way that like 5.56 is designed, even like sometimes it'll go through drywall, but more often than not, it's just gonna like, it'll just what's the word for it? Just like not.
Frangible.
There you go. Thank you.
Frangible, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, a 223 and a 5.56 round, they are designed to break apart, but I'm pretty sure that they will go right the heck through drywall.
I figure they will, but I just was like, I need to look into that.
Given the level of ballistic armor you need to stop one.
Yeah. Little zippy boys.
Yeah, exactly. But so that's what I've got, and that's because they're small to maneuverable.
Yes.
I can, and I can kind of have it's easy to stage them in places where nobody can reach them except for me, basically. It's and that's an obvious consideration. I don't want someone to just randomly pick it up.
That'd be bad.
But you mentioned shotguns. So that of course is kind of a default choice.
It's the classic
default choice.
Like I know I'm not gonna pull a Joe Biden and tell you, hey, get yourself a double barrel shotgun and like illegally discharge 2 rounds into the air, because that makes all the sense. But no, I've heard a lot of people say like if you get a hold of like a Mossberg 930, one of the semi-autos or something like that. I mean, they require less training and thought than a pump for sure, but no, that's. Can't go wrong with that if you're not going to over-penetrate and don't have to worry about that kind of thing.
Yeah, oh yeah, especially if you load it with birdshot, you're going to knock a guy down.
Yeah.
You may not kill a guy with birdshot.
I'm reminded. Love you. Fiance is going somewhere real fast for a little bit, but I'm reminded of Dave Chappelle's little bit about like that. There is birdshot. That won't kill him, man. That'll just pepper him up, and just like, what do you want me to pepper him for? Just like But
yeah, it's like it'll still hurt him really bad.
It'll hurt like a bitch, but yeah.
And it won't go through walls.
Yeah, well, maybe I'm just a heartless bastard, because I know like if someone's in my house, I'm not like asking questions. Like I don't really have the mostly because
wrong. I've got nothing against killing a dude who's in my house.
No, I know. But I'm like, I won't fault someone for having that concern of me. Like, I don't really want that much blood on my hands, but I also want that guy to not like possibly try and come on to my wife or something like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, okay, for those of you who aren't in the know, there's some people who, if they survive the attack, their family will try and sue you for just defending your property. So probably just better to plug the guy if.
Personally, I would agree with that. The advantage of the birdshot is, like I said, it won't go through the walls. You won't hit something you didn't plan on hitting.
Exactly.
Now,
get a turkey load in there and be like, and you're done.
Now, you mentioned that a semi-auto shotgun is going to have, less. You have to practice with it a lot less than, like, say, with a pump. Now, why would you say that?
From what I've seen of it, like, I know that everybody thinks about like that whole like, hey, just rack the pump on a shotgun and that's going to stop people. Like, no, don't put your stock in that kind of psychological warfare, because you'll end up dead. And 2, like, while I love pump shotguns, like if I could have an entire room of nothing but like Mossberg 590s or 870 Marine Magnums, I would so do that shit. But if I could like get around the whole maneuvering of actually racking the slot and making sure I'm loaded when I don't have to be, when I want to be, I would love that. Just auto loading shotgun, boom, next shot's already in, boom. I'm just keep going until either I run out or the guy's gone. So just the advances of modern engineering and technology want you to work a little bit easier when defending your life.
Right. And, a semi-auto, you don't have to think about
the
fact that you've got to, rack that gun to bring in another round.
Yeah.
You just pull the trigger and go. So, like, for a first-time gun buyer, it's not a bad option, right?
Not at all. Especially when you consider, like, a lot of the recoil and the action from a semi-auto kind of takes the kick out of things, depending on like what you're
Good
using.
point.
Like
Good point.
I think some people kind of forget that because it's like, oh yeah, just get him a pump shotgun, and they say this like a 5'2" wisp of a woman, and it's like,
Right.
no, just hey, easy. Like, it's the same thing as like when you go to a gun store and like I've seen this before firsthand too, because like I've been trying to get something lined out for my soon-to-be wife, and the guy, like, just totally innocently, that's just what he was probably raised and what he himself was taught was like, you find a woman who needs a small gun that maybe could fit in a purse or something, on her person. They always, without fail, go to like a 38 J frame, a little 5-shot. And I haven't shot a lot of those, but because frankly, the one time I did shoot one, it was only 38s. It was like, the size of my hand, and it was one of my coworkers' concealed piece. I won't go into more details beyond that, but I shot it once and I was like, ow. That's it wasn't even, it was a 357 too, but it was only 38. So I was like, that in itself felt like a freaking bomb going off my hand. And then I tried shooting like a, maybe like a little 9mm, and I'm like, oh, the actual the way the gun operates takes a lot of that oomph out. That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good point. Those gases and everything that are a natural part of when you're firing off a small bomb in your hand, is that's getting used in a different way, and that force is being recycled to actually bring the next round into the gun so you can shoot it.
Yeah.
A revolver, you're just
physics is a wonderful mistress, but she can be harsh to you if you don't understand.
Exactly, and that's actually, honestly, that's a point that I had not considered, when evaluating a semi-auto versus a pump or a revolver, is the fact that the recoil is just naturally going to be more.
Yeah. Well, for me, like I think the only reason I bought a pump first, because I don't have a semi-auto shotgun, just gonna, but
nor do I yet.
I would love one. I'm still, like, if gold standard would be something like a Benelli M3, because those things are just like they're like a Spaz 12. The Spaz 12 wasn't crappy, basically, but convertible. It's either a pump if you need it or an auto loader if you don't. And the only reason I went with just a straight pump is because, first of all, cash wise, but second, I'm thinking of like that whole prepper mindset, like, okay, let's assume I don't have any way of like getting new parts for like God knows how long. And that's like that's the thing that really sucks about auto loading shotguns, is that the parts on them, they do need to be replaced like fairly periodically. Like, I don't know how often springs in an 870 need to get replaced, but I know that like Benelli's and stuff, you got to change springs out every once in a while, otherwise they're just going to get janky on you.
Well, and there's another consideration. A semi-auto is going to have more parts.
Yes,
more parts that can fail on you.
Yes.
Whereas the pump is nice and reliable. It's you can use that thing basically forever and never have to replace a dang thing on it.
It doesn't care what ammo you chuck in it. It is just gonna keep on spewing.
Yep. And so if you're gonna get a semi-auto, it's just be aware of that fact. You're gonna be able to pull it out of the box and be ready to go.
Yes.
And without any trouble, just be aware of what ammo you're putting into it.
Yeah.
And don't if you've got a semi-auto that isn't designed for it, don't put mini shells in the dang thing.
Yeah. Ooh, no. That's not going to work.
No, it's going to be a poor choice.
It's going to be a really poor choice.
If you've got a pump action, you might be able to get away with that.
I like to think of like I kind of like to think, now that I just got in my head a little bit, I'm thinking about like how, if I had to compare them to people, a semi-auto would be like one of those guys who's on keto and he's like really picky about what he's got to eat because he's got to maintain a certain weight level.
Yeah.
And then a pump is just like some dude doesn't care, doesn't have a diet, just freaking eats anything, and it's still like somehow in remarkable shape, and it's just.
Now that said, a pump action, you're not gonna, for home defense, you're probably not gonna need to do more than 2 rounds.
I was gonna say two, maybe 3. I think beyond that, unless it's like in a weird riot scenario, you're probably in a bit of dubious legal standing after that.
Well, yeah, and if you're in a weird riot scenario, you should be hiding anyway. Probably, if that's all you've got in the house anyway, you should be hiding and
Yeah,
not going out to shoot them.
exactly.
There's more of them than you have rounds, and unless you've trained a lot anyway, you're toast.
Yeah. Oh,
You should be hiding in the room with a gun pointed at the door just in case.
just like anyone comes in there, comes in here, you are going to die.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
All I can think about right now. Sorry, I'm a bit of an aside, but all I can think about right now is one of the stores I go into every now and again. A few weeks ago, they had another thing. Just if you're a first-time buyer, and if you're able to, if you can find like police trade-in weapons. Oh man, that's a fantastic. Like every time I see like a police trading Glock, they're usually like maybe $100 under what they usually are, and they're freaking. They work. They have a little bit of they have a bit of a rough look to them because they've been in a holster for God knows how long. But they work because the cops have to train with them all the time, and they're good guns. But I saw one like a police trade-in 870 that had the works on it, like scattergun iron sights, surefire forend, one of the speed feed stocks I think they don't even make anymore. And I was just like, this thing looks so beautiful. If I had 1,500 to drop right now, I would probably take it.
I like that though. In fact, there is actually a place about an hour and a half, 2 hours from me that I might be able to find some things like that. Actually, should probably once I have some spare cash, I should make a little pilgrimage. Of course, I should call ahead because, as we both know, guns are scarce these days.
Oh, freaking A, are they? It's been. I just tell myself like, okay, because it's gonna be after my wedding anyway when I buy another gun. So I'm like, okay, I really hope there's more guns after my wedding because I need to buy one so freaking bad right now.
I have this itch. But okay, so to wrap up this part, for if your primary concern is just the gun is got to the gun's not leaving the house, it's just for home defense.
Yeah.
First, what's kind of what would be your basic recommendation?
I mean, I'll just go with the same recommendation anyone else has gone. Like, just get like a Glock 19 and a couple mags, or get like a good, maybe a good 12 gauge if you're more comfortable with that. If you can own something like an AR with like some kind of hollow point ammo that's not going to like go through the guy, the wall, your neighbor's dog or something.
Right.
Go with that. Like,
and that's the single biggest consideration is being aware of where you're going to shoot.
I know that I'm thinking of a meme right now, and it's like worst choices for a home defense weapon, and it's like an AK pistol, and the caption on it says they can't rob me if they're deaf and blind. it's like,
true.
Yeah, it's like, remember that cuts both ways, people.
Yeah, but, exactly. Now, I'd have to say is like if you've only got like $300 to drop.
Ooh.
I would definitely get like just get a pump action shotgun.
Yeah. If you can find a good Maverick 88, that's not a bad choice, honestly.
There you go. Especially since you can load that in such a way that you don't have to worry about it going through walls. Whether it's interior or exterior walls. Basically, it's a good, safe option that will put a guy down. Yeah. People
respect the authority of a 12 gauge.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're only getting one gun and it's not going to leave the house, get you a good pump action.
Get a good pump action.
Now,
agreed.
Now for those who are in, they are many. I was recently just looking at concealed carry classes. I've already got my permit, so I'm good to go. But I was basically they're booked.
Yeah,
they're booked for weeks. So for weeks in advance. In a lot of
people
cases.
Just getting it into the wire and it's causing a clog. It's like, whoa.
Yep, and I saw. I was at my range a couple weeks ago. It was on a Saturday morning, and it was the parking lot was packed.
Yeah,
just packed, and there were no events going on. There was no trap shooting, no shooting tournaments, none of that. It was just packed, and it was packed because there was a concealed carry class going on.
Yeah.
And like I said, there were just so many people there. I was like,
Uh,
wow. But so it's your first concealed carry gun. You know, you're going to use it for home defense. You're going to use it out on the town. What are we looking at here?
so, oh man, I'm trying to think of what I would like. What I. Mm, everyone says a Glock 19, but even now I'm over here like, I'm not the biggest dude in the world. Like I'm fairly,
Mm-hmm.
I won't say lean, but I'm a lanky frame. But every time I've just even just fiddling it, fiddle farting around here, just like seeing how it feels. I'm like, man, this is kind of uncomfortable. Which hey, it's gonna be. But like,
Mm-hmm.
if they were, for those who don't know, in California we actually have a roster of guns that you can get a hold of. The one I'm about to suggest, I don't think is on the list yet for some reason, but like every time I've held like a Glock 48 out of state, just
Mm-hmm.
like you go visit some family, and I'm like, I want to see what they have here and just feel it, just because I can.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel a Glock 48, and I'm like, this is perfect. Like it's just a good size single stack 9. I like it. If I can see myself keeping it on me and think to myself, this isn't gonna like show in my clothes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not gonna be like a huge burden. If I were able to get a hold of one of those and keep it on me all the time for just everyday carry,
Mm-hmm.
that'd be awesome. But thanks, California, I can't do that.
Well, and a Glock 19, that's a full size handgun.
It's a good middle of the road handgun, but it's still basically a full size handgun.
Yeah, I mean it's not huge, but
No.
it's not a subcompact either. It's not
Exactly.
something that like a woman's gonna put in her purse.
No.
So, point being, it's a larger gun. It's going to be harder to conceal.
Yeah.
Now, fortunately, Glock does make a lot of guns that are in the subcompact range.
Oh yeah.
They're small, and so if you've got small hands, or if you just you go around in a t-shirt,
Yeah.
more than you do anything else, you're gonna want probably a small gun.
Yeah.
Easier to hide.
I've had a couple of people suggest to me like getting a Glock 26, like the really snubby like 9mm. But I'm over here like, okay, my hands aren't huge, but when I hold it, these two fingers don't really do anything when holding it.
Yeah. That's a consideration too. It's one reason why you should always go to a shop and at least put it in your hands.
Yes.
Before you buy it, so you can see what it's like.
And you have to have that aha moment when you hold it, like, oh, it feels great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The only problem is that any gun I put in my hand, I'm like, oh, this feels amazing, and then you're like, I need it, but I can't.
But I do not have an unlimited budget.
Exactly. Why couldn't I be Tony Stark?
Right. Well, then you would just make an Iron Man suit and be done with the whole thing.
That's true.
So you'd make War Machine and be like, okay.
There we go. Yeah. What's your EDC? An what is it? An M134 minigun on my shoulder. Get wrecked.
What? Because I can.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
It's legal.
America.
Yeah, because America. That's why. But so size is going obviously a consideration.
Yes.
When you're looking, as far as what kind of round, whatever. In all honesty,
everyone I think everyone can handle a 9mm pretty easily. I'm not going to be like, oh, it's such a hot round. Like, I've never messed with like plus P plus, but I imagine if it's anything like plus P, it might have a little more snap to it in smaller guns, but probably surmountable. Like, I want to just be an American and be like, real Americans shoot 45 because, yeah, but really, whatever you're comfortable with, as long as it's like an actual concealed carry round, like, I don't know who would feel a need to carry like a snubby 44 Magnum outside of bear country. So maybe you got a reason. I can't think of it.
No.
No.
Other than it's like, I just really absolutely want to be able to put a son of a bitch down.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I want to be sure that it's going to be one shot and he's down. I don't care where I hit him.
Exactly,
if I hit him in the arm, I blew it off. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Either way, the threat is incapacitated because it's just like reeling from loss of blood and stuff. Like
exactly. That's a legit consideration.
Yeah.
It's 9mm is typically in normal times it's cheap and it's plentiful.
It is,
You
yes.
can walk into any gun shop,
Mhm.
or pretty much any sporting goods store,
Yeah,
and find you some 9mm.
exactly.
It's not going to be an issue.
And you know that pretty much any gun out there is going to run like, all your basic needs. Like it's going to run your Hornady critical defense. It's going to run your Spear Gold Dot, your
Yeah.
Winchester PDX defenders, all that stuff,
Hmm.
or whatever janky hollow point that's probably underpowered as hell. But you know that the gun you buy for it is going to run it because it's good ammo. Like
Yeah. Yeah,
it's that's
it's decent enough. It's decent enough
yeah.
ammo, and most guns these days will run most ammo.
Oh yeah.
I've never, I haven't had an issue where I'm firing a handgun. It's just like there's one particular ammo I noticed that it's
I
just like I hate this.
I must share a story of my first gun purchase
Oh,
actually
please
now.
do.
So because this comes in another consideration, like make sure what you're buying is from at the very least from a company that's like they can own up to the problems that they have, right? So
Right.
the first gun I bought was it was an Armscore 1911 A2 model, right? So it was their GI standard, their like entry level basically double stack 45. Now,
Hmm.
in other states, that's 13 rounds of 45 in a 1911. For me, where I'm at, it's only 10. But 10 rounds of 45 ACP, yeah, hell yeah,
That's
that's
some power.
awesome.
That
That's
yeah.
when the alternative is like 3 or 8 rounds. That extra couple is really nice. And so I got this, and it wasn't an expensive weapon, right? It was like maybe $600, something like that, when all said and done.
Okay.
Very affordable. A lot of people swear by Rock Island and Armscore. I'm not denigrating them at all. But one thing I noticed is that when I was shooting it, and I was just like, I'm a fairly high volume shooter when I am able to. I just like to get out there, train a lot for like one day, like a couple hundred rounds,
Hmm.
and then clean it, put it away, maybe just mess with it and be like, okay, where's the break in the trigger? Boop, okay, dry fire practice complete for the week. But every time I was using it the first time out, and then subsequent trips, I would notice it would lock back like on the second to last round
Huh.
before like the magazine's empty. I'm thinking
That's weird.
it is weird, and it kept doing it. And so eventually, say something to like Armscore, like, "Hey, my handgun's doing such and such. I've only fired X amount of rounds through it," and total credit to them. They were like, "Oh, hey, we'll fix that for you. Send it in, and we'll get you all squared away." And they did. They actually, sent me an email saying, "Hey, here's the problem. We figured it out. To make things easier on you, we're going to send you another gun." And it's
Oh,
like,
wow.
yeah, they're an awesome company. I'm not going to denigrate them at all. And then that one worked fantastically. First time out, ran like 200 rounds through it. It was phenomenal. I didn't have the problem I was experiencing before. Subsequent trips, same thing. And then came one day, I don't know what exactly it was. I think a seer just like decided to take a shit on me. But the hammer wouldn't stay down. It wouldn't stay in a cock position.
Huh.
And like every time you pull it back, it would just snap back up. And I was like, send a message to them again. And at this point, I'm like, and same thing. They were like, okay, send it back. We will fix it. They ended up sending me another gun. Total credit to them. And it was at this point I was like, okay, I need to weigh out the problems here, because whenever they sent me another thing, I still had to go through the background check in California. I had to pay like the DROs for that and everything. And I was like, okay. So eventually I decided to just, when I got the new one, I was like, okay, benefit of the doubt. This thing runs great. I traded it in for a SIG P220 Equinox that I found that was pre-owned. And hey, SIG Sauer, excellent guns. Yeah. Pricey, but excellent. Traded it in for that, and so my 45 slot is filled. But just at the very least, even if the gun doesn't work, make sure the company that gave it to you is like, yeah, no, okay, our bad, we'll get it fixed. Because everything I've heard about Rock Island and Armscore, they are a good company and they make good stuff, and they're true to their word. They will
good customer service.
Yes, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. They're not like first thing that comes to mind is Interordnance. Do you know who they are?
I don't know.
So they made AKs for a short time.
Okay.
They were not good AKs. Like it's a bit of a meme, right? Like so a while back, somebody was like, "Who would you trust over Dr. Fauci?" And I was like, "Interordnance AKs." And one of my friends was like, "I just spit my coffee out." So, Rob Ski over at the AK Operators Union, who like this is his second job. His whole thing is he goes out, he takes the variety of AKs that are on the market right now. He puts them through the 5,000 round gauntlet that he has over the course of several months. And if they survive the gauntlet, they're great. The IO AKs that he messed with, they didn't make it past like it was a really random ass number, but it was like 1,600 rounds basically, right? And even on like the third round, he was having issues that he couldn't fathom. And when he brought this up to IO, they were saying, you know, they were basically like, "Hey, bruh, you're just some guy trying to, you know, squander us for money, like super offended, like our product is best weapons." And Rob Ski being like he has intimate knowledge of the platform. He's actually I think he's an active service Army sniper or something like that. And he's from the former, you know, communist bloc. So he knows AKs when he
knows his pews.
He knows his pews intimately. So he's over here like, okay, IO is a bunch of shitbaggers, awesome, but like, don't just make sure you research the company, make sure they're reputable and they're not a bunch of terrible people, basically. Because I don't know if like, I know they stopped making AKs after a while because they just couldn't get the hang of it, and that's a special kind of failure when you can't make an AK run. What kind of
what kind of operation are you running? Because one of the things, I mean, AKs are known for the fact that they just work.
Like, even though Carl and Ian on In Range kind of show they don't always work.
Oh, really?
So, one of their most popular videos to date, in fact, their most popular. I don't think anything's going to come close to this. We were talking about the mud test before the show that they did, and they were mud testing an AK. Now, everyone likes to talk about how, hey, you put an AK in the ground and they're like 6 feet of mud, you pull it out, it's going to run flawlessly. Nope. Because you know why it's not going to run flawlessly? Because the way an AK is designed, like that safety lever, when that's down, guess what? It's leaving a big old chunk of space that like dirt and debris can get into. And if for something like, you know, just dust or whatever, okay, it's going to cause some problems and that's bad. But in the heat of the moment, you're just pumping rounds down range, no big deal. But if like a bunch of globby, like Arizona, New Mexico mud gets in there, you cannot cycle around to save your life. And they proved this. Like, they got one round off. Or maybe they didn't actually. I can't remember. But like, you know, dust cover on, dumped mud all over it. Then they take it off, try to fire, maybe one shot, and the weapon died. Meanwhile, they take an AR-15, which is known for supposedly being finicky, right? And they just glob it on all over that thing, and it just runs like a champ. And
it gets into a whole other issue of the way reputation is built early on.
Exactly. And I was just going to get into that a little bit.
You know, because certain guns they have a reputation for always working or for never working.
Yes.
When, you know, like you mentioned with the AR-15, well, that reputation comes from when the M16 was forced put into service back in Vietnam.
They go into that
piece of crap.
Yes. So, and that's the thing. So I keep seeing this, and I was always curious about it. And that again, Ian and Carl, because they're not just gun nuts. Like like one's an actual viable historian, like critical acclaim all across the planet, to the point where when he shows up in an armory and they don't know who he is, and some guy off the street is like, "Oh, hey, this is Ian McCullen from Forgotten Weapons," and they show him who he is, they're just like, "Oh, come on in, dude. Do you think?" And they were talking about the M16, right? Because everyone was just like incredulous. Like, how can an AR-15 beat an AK-47 in a mud test? And they were explaining it because there was a lot. People don't seem to realize that there was a lot of political drama behind the scenes of the AR-15, because us being Americans, we were, for the longest time, we were 30 cal or nothing, to the point where, like, when NATO was coming up with intermediate battle cartridges for like the FAL, we were over here like, real guns are 30 caliber and they're steel and wood. And then we got the M14 and we found out that was a terrible idea. So when we went to something smaller caliber, like the, like the 223 556 and in the M16 platform, there were people who didn't want it to succeed, to the point where there was like actual sabotage at testing sites that Eugene Stoner was just like, what are you guys doing to my baby, right? And the reason that, and they talked to someone who actually knew what they were talking about with this. They talked to one of the guys who helped make the AR-15 and the M16, Jim Sullivan.
Okay.
And they talked about, he was telling them about how back in the day, because powder specs are a huge deal. You change the powder in something, you've thrown off everything about how the gun operates, because it's a chaotic thing, right? It's chemistry and physics are so finicky like that. And so they were saying how, he was telling them about how they had a bunch of surplus powder that was meant for, like, the M1 Garand or the M14 and all that stuff. It was meant for 30 caliber pills. And they were like, if we save money by using this stuff, then we can, make a killing and make more ammo, right? Problem is that all that ammo goes to crap because everything's humid out, it can't handle it. Now there's this horrible reputation about the M16's a piece of junk. And when the gun was fantastic. When you look at it on paper, it's closed system. The recoil's in line with your shoulder, so it's not like all at the front going all wonky and stuff. It's lightweight, and it's just like it really is a wonder weapon. But you change that one thing, and everything just goes out the frickin' window. And it's like,
So the reason for that reputation that it developed in Vietnam, that is still sort of continued even today, is the fact that they put crappy ammo in it.
Basically, yeah. It's eye-opening, especially when you have people who are like, so I have a weird love-hate relationship with Garth Ennis, because I like reading some of his stuff, and it's clear the man has a historical bone in his body, but then he writes a bunch of stuff about how the M16's junk, and it's like, shut up, Garth! You don't know what you're talking about.
Well, like you said, he has a historical bone in his body.
Yes, and that historical bone is strongly pertained to World War II, and considering he's Irish, probably the British side of World War II mostly, but
probably.
Anyway,
now bringing it back to kind of like looking at your first like concealed carry weapon and everything.
Yes.
I also have an interesting experience with the first handgun I actually purchased.
Yes.
It's a Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0.
Okay, yeah.
9mm. It's a good little gun. I still use it. I really like it. But there were various things that I didn't even cross my mind when I bought the stupid thing. I of course knew, okay, there's only so many rounds in it. Okay, so I have an extra mag. So, after watching a couple of videos, people brought up, it's like, nobody has the extra magazines. Like, actually, no, my CPL instructor, he mentioned that. It's like, nobody ever thinks about carrying an extra mag. It's like, good point. So I, made sure, it's like, okay, I'll carry an extra mag with me, no problem. I got a magazine extension on one of them. So, my carry magazine that I have with me is 10 rounds.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, well, I should probably carry one I should actually have it in the chamber, because, if I need it now.
Yeah.
Things like that. But there were still things I didn't consider. One, I got it from like a sporting goods store. It was on sale. And I think it had an integrated Crimson Trace laser on it.
Okay, yeah.
Which I'm like, okay, that's a great idea. I should definitely get that. I got it for like under $400. With the laser, it came with 2 magazines. I'm like, awesome, great.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, well, that turns out the laser is very finicky. It may or may not work for you. And it's really hard to find a freaking holster.
Yes.
Didn't even
Yes.
cross my mind that would be an issue, but sure enough,
Yeah, right.
because the holsters these days, especially for concealed carry,
Hmm.
they're designed typically specifically for the gun.
Yes.
They're not.
There's like no shimmy space or anything for any weird BS on it. And it's I think I've seen like some people who are like getting into the rear mounted red dot phase or whatever you want to call it for maybe not phase. I think people are saying it's the next thing for pistols, logistically speaking.
It seems to be
Yeah.
everybody's doing it.
Yes. And then they get like a holster that doesn't fit the RMR and it's like
Exactly.
damn it.
right. And that's a legit consideration, especially if it's something where it's like it's integrated. It probably only exists through. It may only exist through this particular retailer.
Yeah.
So you've basically got to search around. I eventually did find 2 different places that were able to do it for me. So I've got 2 holsters specifically for concealed carry for that gun, which is great. But still, and now actually the laser doesn't work at all, and I'm like,
yeah,
okay, this is just stupid now. It's still a good gun. I shoot it regularly, and I'm actually pretty decent with it now.
Yeah.
But in fact, it's actually just for concealment and comfort purposes. It's actually still my preferred concealed carry gun. However, and this is something that didn't even cross my mind because I'm an idiot. I am left-handed.
Oh!
Guess
God.
where the thumb safety is on this? It's on the left side. Same with the mag release. Now the mag release, I'm able to get around. I can just drop my middle finger back and push that mag release as quickly as I could with my thumb if it was oriented correctly. That's not an issue. The safety, though, is. Now, you can run without the safety. However, like if it's got a thumb safety, it doesn't have other internal safeties.
Yeah.
That would prevent an accidental discharge.
Mm-hmm. You can't. It's kind of hard to run cocked and locked when you can't uncock.
Right. So if you're, if you're left-handed, that should be a legitimate consideration. You should either be looking for something that has the thumb safety on the right-hand side of the gun.
Yeah.
Or something that doesn't have a thumb safety, like a Glock, or Smith & Wesson makes models also that don't have.
If it fits your hand, you may as well go with like an Ambi model 1911 or something like that.
Right, something that's either ambidextrous, doesn't have a safety, or whatever. Ambidextrous anyway is good because then you get a mag release on both sides.
That's. I'm just thinking about how I need to do some more left-handed shooting to like practice in case like this arm just breaks or something.
Right, and actually I need to practice right-hand shooting.
Yeah. For
obviously similar reasons, and the fact that most guns that I'm just going to find, hypothetically, are tailor-made to right-hand. They're going to be a right-handed safety gun. It's just the way it is.
It makes me think of. Do you know who Clint Smith is?
I don't.
So he's a firearms instructor in Oregon. Okay. He was in the Marine Corps, I think, on the tail end of Vietnam. He ran with LAPD SWAT, taught them how to shoot, stuff like that. And he's been teaching shooting for the better part of basically like 40 years. Oh, wow. And he teaches that. And there's some people who come up to him. He's like, Clint, I'm not left-handed. I can't shoot with my left hand. Why am I doing that? And he's like, you just explained the reason why you're doing it.
Because you can't.
You can't, yeah.
So therefore, we're going to practice.
Yeah. I can't, therefore you're going to, basically.
Right, exactly. It's a gap in the skill set, which again, that gets into training. We'll go there shortly here.
No, my I won't say who actually, but a close person in my life actually is left-handed, but because of his job and his skill set, he's had to learn ambidexterity. Mm-hmm. So he's pretty much like he shoots with his right hand when it's his pistol. But I'm still like, you have the leg up on me, and I need to get on that level right there. Mm-hmm. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah. I'm a long ways from being ambidextrous with shooting.
Yes.
And honestly, it's made teaching the kids difficult. It's like okay, I've got a handle. It feels so weird.
The same thing happened with the person I'm talking about and his dad, actually, because his dad was trying to teach him stuff, and he told him, pick a hand, your right hand, please, basically.
Right, and to be honest, it's understandable.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
also, being able to swap like that will probably also help with any eye dominance issues that you may or may not
Yeah.
have. I would imagine it would help. Uh,
Hmm.
now, so for a concealed carry, what you're looking for is one, what's your wardrobe?
Hmm.
Typically,
Yes.
you know, are you
It's got a.
are you a jacket guy normally, even
Mhm.
when most sane people are walking around in a t-shirt?
Are you one of the weirdos like me who wears pants pretty much 365 a year?
Right? Are you a t-shirt guy even when it's even when it's cold out?
And don't forget, yeah, don't forget, that's another thing. Don't forget to take into account your environment that you're in. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know that, especially in the summer, no matter where you are, whether it's dry heat, whether it's humid,
Mm-hmm.
that gun is going to be on your body at all times, and it's going to
Mm-hmm.
absorb sweat. So you're going to want
Yep.
something that's got it. If you have to Cerakote it like through other channels, or if you just find a gun that's got a good finish on it, that's rust proof and everything,
Mm-hmm.
that's a huge help. That's the reason why if I'm going to buy a shotgun, it's going to be a Marine Magnum of some kind
Gotcha,
because
gotcha.
it
Because
stands
you can handle
anything.
things like that.
Exactly.
Absolutely, and that's a consideration too when you're looking at storage and everything. Because a
Hmm.
lot of
Oh
places are
yeah.
just humid. Like Michigan is humid. It
Yeah.
just is. Most of
Hmm.
Michigan is very humid. In fact, I was looking at some maps comparing humidity around the country, and on a consistent basis, Michigan is about as humid as anywhere in the deep south. In the
Wow.
Yeah, in the summer it's different. In the summer, the humidity in the south is quite a bit higher.
No wonder
But
Ted Nugent's insane. Jesus.
right, but on a consistent like any day of the year, Michigan is as likely to be as humid as any place in the south
Whew.
on that same day.
Yeah.
It's with exception of like Louisiana, Mississippi,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. In the summer, they've got it beat easily.
Oh yeah.
But
Of course.
like in the winter we're as likely to be we might be as humid as they are.
Yeah. Oh God.
Which
Gnarly.
humidity in Michigan is
So
ridiculous.
yeah. So okay, we have
But anyway,
wardrobe with your wardrobe, with your
mhm,
environments. Fits your hand.
put your
If
hand.
that's
If you're
a
left-handed,
yeah.
get you a gun that's ambidextrous or is set up for left-handed because ideally you want to train to be ambidextrous, but you're
Yeah.
not going to be there right away, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Train with what you've got and what you know, what you can do first.
Hmm.
Then work on filling
Yeah.
that other side of things, and also availability of the kind of ammo that you're getting.
Hmm.
9mm again, and normally is plentiful. Um,
Yes.
Now, and also availability of, and you mentioned someone who had an issue with this, availability of magazines. You're going to
Yeah.
want more than just the magazines that it comes
Hmm.
with, most likely.
When
Um,
everything's going to hell in a handbasket, you want every mag at your disposal for not
it,
just you, but whoever, like anyone else that you feel you need to
mm,
equip, basically.
yep. I have a total of 10 magazines now for my shield, and that costs some money. By the way, there's magazines
Yeah.
are not cheap,
Yeah.
but they've you want extra magazines, I keep them loaded so that when two reasons: one, in case it's time to rock and roll, it's time to rock and roll.
Yeah.
Uh, Two, I keep 7 of them just loaded with a full metal jacket so that when I
Hmm.
go to the range, that's what I shoot.
Yeah.
It's like I shoot those magazines, I
Yeah.
empty those out, then I take them home and load them back up.
Exactly.
It's it helps me keep track of how much I'm shooting, and also I don't have to deal with reloading magazines at the range.
Yeah.
Who wants to waste their time doing that?
No.
I can come home and I can put on a movie and sit here and reload.
Just sit and vibe, just like click, 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 click.
Exactly.
That's a fun time, just sitting
Yeah.
there loading mags and just vibing.
Yeah, exactly. You sit and watch them some more movies. Because America.
Yeah. Get wrecked, Europe.
That's right.
Oh, I just love that when you hear like some British person being like, "I can't understand why Americans. Your opinion hasn't mattered for 200 years. Get out."
Shut up. Do you need us to come save your ass again?
Exactly.
But
I
and again, if you're going to be carrying, if you're going to be looking to carry, and you're basically, if you need one gun for home defense and for carry,
Mhm.
keep keep that into consideration. Get yourself a
Yeah.
good, reliable 9mm. It doesn't really matter. There's a lot of different brands out there. Most of them are
Yeah.
adequate.
Yeah.
You know, Smith
Like
and Wesson's going to do your job for you. Glock's going to do your job for you.
So the really nice 1911s are going to do the job for you.
Mhm.
If it's any big name reputable company that like you hear them all the time, like Glock, Smith and Wesson, Springfield Armory, or something like that. If you
you've
buy
heard
from
of
them, you're
it's going to
fine.
be a good
Exactly.
thing.
If
What's
it's one of the,
there?
if it's
Hold on, I've got a visitor.
oh okay.
What are you doing?
Oh
little one?
hello.
I want an apple.
You okay? You can go get an apple. But hey, first give your dad a hug, little one.
Oh,
get
it's
outta here.
adorable.
Yeah, she is.
Another thing I just thought of, like, this is really forward thinking because there's people who they say like, hey, if you have to use your gun, keep in mind every bullet has a lawyer attached to it, and that's a huge deal. And one thing that this is a little word of wisdom from Paul Harrell for people who don't want to sit down and watch a half-hour video, even though you should, because it's a lot of really good information talking about your ammo choices. And so, like, if it has anything like, you know, defense or defender or anything that's indicates like, hey, I am just looking out for my own skin, from a legality standpoint, you're going to be better off because people are going to look at that and be like, okay, clearly this isn't someone who's like going out hunting people, right? But if you have something like, what is it? Like RIP rounds, which stands for radically invasive projectile. Like it's a mean looking hollow point. Yeah. But it's got like a tombstone on the box. You have that and you shoot someone with it. A cop's going to be like, what's up? What's going on here, bro? Like from a possible legal standpoint, if for some reason in the future I have to defend myself and I'm like wearing this, I've worn this since I was 16. This is from when I went hunting with my grandpa and I got my first big game kill, and it was an elk. This isn't me like being like, I'm looking for a fight. This is just me being like, thanks, grandpa. But still, like, this is basically this is still like, this could be a problem for me in the future. But
it poisons the well.
It poisons the well a little bit. If you can keep yourself from poisoning the well with your ammo choices,
that's a good point,
and all that stuff, do it. Like just buy simple Winchester white box hollow points that are just like personal defense or anything like that. Help yourself out as much as you can. And
I recommend getting some sort of like some sort of carry insurance, some sort of,
everyone recommends legal, like USCCA. That's what it is. Yeah. I was like USS. UCC? I couldn't remember.
USCCA. United States Concealed Carry Association.
There it is. Yep.
They've got good carry insurance. There's others out there as well. I've got one. It was a strong recommendation in my CPL class. It's like you should have some sort of like default legal protection.
Yes.
Because like I said, every bullet has got a lawyer attached to it. If you have to, even if you have to defend yourself in your own home, you are going to be having some sort of conversation with the police. I don't care where you live. It does not matter where you live. You are obviously going to be talking to the cops.
Depending on it happens.
Depending on where you are, depending on the cop, it might just be, okay, sir, thank you. We'll be in touch if we need to be. Otherwise, it might be you're coming down to the station. You might have a sleepover. And
it really could just depend. Like you said, it could just depend on them. Like I've heard some weird things, right? Like
there are horror stories out there.
Well, not even like in a bad way. Well, maybe just a morally ambiguous. You'll call it, like in the eyes of the law, right? Where I don't know where it was at, but I heard like a story about someone talking to their sheriff or a deputy of the sheriff's department, and they were saying like, listen, if someone's like on your property and they look like they're starting something that you don't want to be a part of, and you feel like you have to defend yourself, make sure that the body is in the house when someone gets there. And I'm like, that's weird. That's definitely a conversation is going to have. Like, the body's in here, but there's a big blood stain on your yard.
Why is there a blood trail going from the end of the driveway to your living room? That seems strange to me.
He was determined.
He really, really, really determined.
Yeah. So it's just a weird aside because I had to get that out there. I was like, that's definitely always know your laws for your whatever
Sure.
municipality you live in.
Yep.
Because know your sheriffs actually also too. Like
Probably a good idea.
like I don't understand why not. I want to know how come all law enforcement isn't elected positions, because I hear a sheriff is because a sheriff is an elected position, and I'm like, why isn't that the norm? You know, I want to know who the police chief is in my town. I don't know it.
Right.
It's a very
That's a good point.
odd thing, but
Yeah, I mean, having a good relationship with the local police, if you can, is
Mhm.
obviously a good thing.
oh yeah,
And again, be familiar with your laws. A lot of places obviously don't even allow concealed carry, or it's
Yeah.
extremely difficult. Like it's a fairly simple matter in Michigan to get a concealed carry.
Mhm.
You got to go through. It's a 1-day course basically. It's
Yeah.
mostly classroom. It's mostly talking about things like what's the right mindset you should have.
Mhm.
Situational awareness. What are the laws and everything?
Yes.
What can you do? What can't you do? That sort of thing. And obviously there's range time involved,
yeah,
which just to make sure that you can shoot, you can hit something right in front of you is really
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
the only point of a 1-day training course.
yeah. If you're carrying this thing, can you actually hit your target? Basically,
Exactly. Can you safely operate the gun? That is obviously important. And
Mhm.
then you got to go to, then you get you go down to wherever the relevant cop shop is. It might
Yeah.
be the place that's close to you. It might be you may have to go off a little ways to a bit of a complex,
Mhm.
which is kind of new. It's just kind of what I had to do.
Yeah.
And it was they run a background check. They follow your paperwork. You get your fingerprints and everything.
Yeah.
But and then you just wait until it comes, which
Mhm.
might be fairly quick, might be a few weeks, but we've got in Michigan it's a shall issue state. Basically, if you pass your class and they run the basic background check, you get your concealed carry.
Yeah.
Other places it's obviously more difficult.
I remember one like little detail. I'm not sure. Like, I'm sure it's just the case for California and maybe like a couple of more anti-gun states on the East Coast. But like, don't wear a mask if you are concealed carrying. That's a
Right.
That's a everything going on right now, and the wearing a mask and everything. I'm not here to be like it's controlled.
We're not getting into specifically the mask debate, but
just if you do conceal carry, and they say you have to wear a mask, you might want to be like, yeah, probably not gonna work for me, guy. Just let's not talk about why.
Yeah, exactly. Because guess what? There
Yeah.
are laws against that. I believe they're at the federal level, actually.
Yes, they are.
So or if you're going, just be aware of that going in.
Yes.
So,
What else is there?
if you're going to travel out of state,
There you go. Know those laws as well.
And it's really easy. Most states reciprocate. Concealed carry permits and everything. Like and if you ever have a question, just go to USCCA, their website. They've got a great map. You just type in where you are, and it'll show you all the states that reciprocate. And for Michigan, it's most of them.
Yeah.
It's basically everywhere except Illinois, West Coast, and New England.
Oh, West Coast is the best coast. No, they both suck.
Yeah, I was saying Michigan is the third coast, and we don't completely suck, despite the best efforts of my current governor.
There you go. Yeah, right. Oh, how do you survive with that woman? Good God.
I just try to ignore her as much as I possibly can.
I thought Newsom was bad, but then she comes out of the it's like she came out of a pit from hell. It's like, I am the ultimate Karen, and just
exactly. She is boss level Karen.
She's actual. I hate using Harry Potter references, but I can't think of anything.
Yeah, she's Dolores
Yeah,
Umbridge.
exactly.
That was my first thought when when I first truly became aware of her existence. Like before all this started, I knew she was my governor. But
Yeah.
I didn't really. I was delightfully unaware of anything about her really, and I was like, okay, we've got a Democrat, fantastic. In 4 years, hopefully that'll change. And then
all this
turns out-
happened, and it's
then she activates her umbrage powers, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, you are the worst. Oh my goodness! It was so much better when I didn't even really know you existed, but
right?
now I do, and
Ignorance is bliss. I want to go back.
now my blood pressure is higher. Thanks, lady.
Do we need to talk about the lawsuit on the NRA that's intended to dissolve it, and why as if we should care, honestly, at this point?
Well, yeah, honestly, the current state of the NRA is probably a whole nother show.
Okay,
Fair
enough.
Suffice to say, I don't want to see them dissolved, but I do desperately want to see them reformed.
Oh hell yeah, agreed.
Because
Keep it.
as I understand it, the NRA has been a bit of a mess for a while, actually.
Oh yeah.
But I didn't pay much attention to it until I was like, they didn't say a peep about Trump's little bump stock ban.
Yeah, in fact, I think they might have helped facilitate that, honestly.
Yeah, I think they were kind of like, yeah, fine, okay. It's like,
yeah, right,
guys.
Yeah, could you help us out here?
You've been so good for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're like,
it'd be a huge shame if it like just went down in a bunch of fire. But at the same time, I'm just like, okay. You're not reforming. You got to give me something to work with here, guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, another show.
Precedent set. But okay, so let's say you've got your first gun, whether it's a shotgun, whether it's a 9mm Glock, because you heard us say Glock a lot, and you heard us say 9mm a lot. Probably good. It's perfectly good. Go for it. In fact, I've got a Glock 45 that actually is my primary concealed carry weapon, because nothing says back off like 14 rounds of hollow point 45 ACP plus an extra mag.
Exactly.
So you've got that. You've got your concealed carry. You found a good holster. Which, quick note, find yourself a good holster.
Please God, yes.
Figure out where you want to carry it. Do you want an appendix carry? If you're a bigger guy, maybe you can't. Maybe you've got a side carry. Maybe you're doing the small of the back thing. Whatever. Maybe
and if you do it, if you're gonna appendix carry, don't shoot your dick off, please.
That would be bad. That would be bad. I tend to appendix carry, so I'm very conscious of where my finger is.
Yes.
Anytime I'm drawing that, because you don't want that anywhere near the trigger at all. Trigger discipline, extremely important.
Oh yes.
But in any case, it's also why it's like, if I've got my shield, the safety's on. If I've got my Glock, well, I know it's got some internal safeties that I'm probably going to be just fine.
Yes.
But in any case, you've got all of that. You got all of that figured out.
Yes.
So you're good to go, right? You never have to do anything again.
Train people.
Okay, so what does that mean? What does it look like to be like, okay, now I've got to train with my handgun?
I think I've heard a lot of people say, like, if you could go to any of the big name like firearms trainers, like if you could go to Gun Sight, Thunder Ranch, people like that, even if it's just one class and then just consistent training on your own and making sure that you're keeping up and you're able to hit everything in the 10 ring, that's good. But I'm over here like, okay, assuming I could like squirrel away the funds or my financial situation changes, if I could go to like a different kind of course each year, because these classes are done like months in advance, right?
Yeah.
But like I'd be over here alternating. Like I would think, okay, first thing, let's get some handgun training. Next year comes around, let's get some shotgun training. Still working on that handgun training. Next year, let's get some rifle training. Just keep stacking on it. Like, keep consistently practicing, because it's a perishable skill. It's like speaking another language or anything. Like if you lose the muscle memory to it and you just stop, you can't just assume, hey, I've got my gun, I've got my certification, I'm just gonna put this I'm just gonna go ahead and wear this and not even worry about it. No, always be practicing and training because you need to make sure that your hand is always coming up the same point, right?
Yep,
I mean,
yep.
ugh. Constant training.
I go to the range. I try to go to the range at least once a month.
Yes.
And I run a few rounds through. I run a few rounds through just about everything except my shotguns once a month.
Yeah.
Because one, I don't carry my shotguns. Two,
yeah.
they're hunting. They're hunting.
Yeah.
They're hunting weapons primarily. That's about it. And let's face it, shotguns are expensive to shoot.
Yeah.
If you're shooting slugs, even if you're shooting cheap slugs, that's like
it's like at least
around.
It's if you can find it, like if you can find them $5 a box, you're doing great. But that's still pricey for a 1 ounce slug.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm running rounds through it fairly frequently. Now, if you're a beginner, don't try to be fancy. Just point the gun at the target and shoot it. Learn how to shoot the gun.
Yes. Exactly.
Don't because if you get there and you're trying to be like, all right, I'm gonna do a quick draw from my appendix holster.
Yeah.
And I gotta put it down range and I'm gonna put 2 here and 2 there and 2 over here.
Yeah.
And, if you're trying to be John Wick right out of the bat, you're just gonna frustrate yourself.
Don't do that.
Build your skills.
Yes.
First, just get there. Just point. Just point. Shoot. Take your time. Aim. Learn how to shoot the dang gun.
Yes.
And then, once you're comfortable shooting the gun, try maybe do it from a longer distance. And you have to start close because for one,
start close. Yes.
Most times you're going to use a handgun. You're going to be close. You're going to be within probably 3 yards, if not closer.
I was going to say, I think I heard somewhere that the FBI averages they say that on average, not an end all be all, but most concealed carry cases where a pistol's drawn, it's usually inside of 7 yards.
Right.
So train at that. Like people will say, hey, train it longer because it's better to be able to shoot farther than if you have to only shoot a short distance than only training a short distance and you have to shoot farther for some reason.
Right. I think I get the point of that.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's easier to get on target when you're shooting closer.
Yeah.
And you're going to get that reinforcement. That's positive reinforcement that's going to help you want to keep training.
Yes.
So you get good at 3 years. You bump out to 5. You bump out to 7. You bump out to 10. And now you're like, okay, I know how to shoot this gun. No matter where I'm shooting, so long as I'm within a reasonable distance of the accuracy capabilities of the handgun, I'm gonna be able to hit my target. Great.
Make that gun an extension of your body.
Exactly. You start getting close to there. It's like, okay, I'm getting good groupings. I'm hitting more or less where I want to hit. Then you start worrying about, okay, worrying about drawing. Worrying about drawing from your holster and then shooting instantly. Then start worrying about that. You get to where that's okay. Maybe you start, my range has got a lot of plastic barrels laying around. You can set yourself up a little obstacle course.
All right, that sounded weird just now.
Coyotes?
No, I think someone was just burning a Brody outside somewhere. All I heard was like a screech. I was like, okay then.
That's weird.
Living in the countries of Wild Ride.
Right.
Do we need to talk about John Wick? I know you wanted to bring it up at some point, and now it's just in my head. But
I did bring it up. But the point is, build your skills, work on them step by step,
and always be working on them.
Yeah, work on them, and like I said, don't jump right away. Work on the fundamentals first. Shoot the dang gun. Period. Get to there, then start building, start getting fancy. You can start set yourself little obstacles courses. Run from barrel to barrel, shooting from cover, things like that. You can, but build it. Don't jump right to that. who knows what the heck you're gonna be shooting.
Yeah.
They're gonna be wondering where on earth did that go, because it's nowhere on the paper at all. It's not even on the board that I stapled the paper to. It's
Just
I
everywhere.
didn't hear a scream, so no one got hit. So I guess
Yeah,
we're good.
yeah.
But yeah, so and we're gonna and like you said too, if you can get formalized training, get it.
Mm-hmm.
If you can afford it, go do that.
Yes.
And once a year is probably a pretty good standard. I'd like to. What I'm hoping to do is actually, after I do a couple more training classes at a lower level, I want to build up to where I'm doing actual force on force training.
Yeah.
That's where I want to get, because the reason for that is, one, it's frankly, it's cool, man.
Yeah.
Two, you mentioned under pressure, your accuracy is going to drop.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna, you're not.
It's just part and parcel of having adrenaline suddenly coursing through your veins.
Exactly. And nobody is immune to that.
Mm-hmm.
Watching stuff from Warrior Port Society, Lovell's talking. The main guy there, John Lovell, was talking about how running some guys through some force on force training. He's like, these are good guys, they're good shooters, they're experienced. But look, here's the groupings on the range. Here's the groupings in the training, and it's like, grouping on the range is like this,
Yeah.
It's like tight, it's good. Groupings in the force of
everywhere.
It's like bang, 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 bang. It's like it's all over the place, and it's almost always low. And it's like that's normal. It's you train, you put yourself under as much pressure as you possibly can without being in a real situation. You'll be better in the real thing.
Yes.
It's just that simple. And you mentioned dry fire practice.
Yes.
At home, you can still practice drawing the gun, pointing at it. Pick something in the house to point.
Yes.
Preferably something that if you accidentally fire around, although you should probably be doing this with the gun unloaded.
Yeah.
Just in case,
Yeah.
Just in case you accidentally pop one off.
Mm-hmm. Another thing, actually, in addition to formalized training, getting back just a little bit back to Ian McCollum and Carl over at In Range and Forgotten Weapons, because I don't know if they've ever gone to like formalized training and whatnot, but what they do a lot of the time, they go to a lot of 2-gun matches in Arizona, and that's another great way. Like frankly, if there's any kind of shooting match here in California I can go to, I'm gonna find a way of freaking being there, because I want to work on these skills in a timed environment, because that's another good way of building practical skills, because you're on the clock, you got to hit your targets now, you got to make sure that you're doing everything properly. It's not mindless, and it's another really good way of actually kind of boning up on some skills, and it's not just going to having
a bunch of money to
having to drive halfway across the country or what have you to get it all out there.
Right, and you're just paying for your ammo essentially at that point.
Yeah,
which is good. So yeah. So I know we're already a bit over an hour, so I don't know if you want to get into WIC, or should we save that for another day?
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we can change the topic and we'll do WIC for another day. But like, there's one thing I'm kind of curious about from your perspective, like, because I've been thinking more and more like, if I like, what's the dream gun? You know what I mean? If like money's no object, there's no like legal anything that's barring you from whatever you want, what would you choose? Like, and I won't make you like choose just one. Like maybe you got like a couple that you're like, I need these things.
Okay, this where it gets into, I'm pretty unaware of a lot of the really high-end stuff, to be perfectly honest. Just going a little bit off the top of my head, everybody says that the Benelli M4 is like the Ferrari.
It's a good shotgun for a reason. If the Marines use it, it's a good shotgun.
Right.
That's fair.
So therefore, I'm gonna think something like that. I'm gonna want, if money's no object, I want me that. I like, actually, I mentioned Warrior Poet Society. They sell something through Sportsman's Guide called the War Poet pistol.
Yeah. Is
Um,
it like a Glock kind of thing, or is it their
it's
own?
not a Glock. I forget what it is, what it's built around. I always want to say FN, but I don't think it's an FN.
Ah,
Um, but I know it's not a Glock. It's not a Glock base, but
okay,
it comes out all tricked out with the tack light
nice,
and the rear mounted optic. They
nice.
just came out with a new model actually that runs a little bit more, probably $1,100 or something like that,
Okay,
11 or 12 ish. But the first one is a grand, which is a lot of money, but
yeah.
I'd be willing to drop it for something as pretty as that thing. And it's what Lovell carries. So if Lovell carries it, John
If
Lovell,
it's
he's an ex-Ranger. So
yes,
if an ex-Ranger's carrying it,
hmm
I'm
it's like
okay with carrying it myself.
yeah. It's like when Ken Hackathorn, who's been training people for like 50 years, carries something called the Hackathorn Special. It's probably going to be good if he has his name on it,
Right.
literally.
Exactly. Exactly. Gosh, for a rifle, I don't know, man. I don't. Again, I don't
I
know a lot of the high end ARs, but
I wouldn't even
definitely,
I don't even know if I would get a high end rifle necessarily because,
yeah.
like, I'm over here thinking from like the historical standpoint of it, right? Because there's I don't know. I want to be just a classic guy and be like, hey, M1 Garand all the way. But even then, like, that's not outside the realm of possibility even now if you know where to look.
Yeah.
Like, I want to say, like, one of them would definitely be like an original M16. Like,
Mhm.
they were the prototypes that the Air Force had. They have the
Oh,
green
okay, yeah.
fiberglass furniture. They're just slick and nice. Another one. Like I just thought about this a couple days ago because I was like, oh, that'd be beautiful to actually have. Like if I could feed it, but like a Sturmgewehr 44,
Mm.
like the quintessential, the first actual legit assault rifle, right? That it came out of a bad place. It came out of Germany in World War II. But if you set aside all the politics involving that, just technologically, it is a fascinating piece of machinery and just so ahead of its time. It's really amazing. Like Germans, man, they came up with some crazy shit. But what else would there be? Maybe an MP5, just because they're so prolific and such a
Yeah.
good gun.
Yeah.
I,
HK
I,
MP5. Yes. Yes,
yes.
please.
Oh man.
And
What else?
if I could just get a hold of an M60.
Yeah. Oh man. Just
I,
for like a day, just so you could do the classic Rambo, just like ah.
yeah. It's, of course, being that I'm not Rambo, it'd be like ah!
Yeah.
Right. I'm actually a bigger guy, like height and weight wise, than Sylvester Stallone is by a fair margin.
Nah,
But because Stallone's short, granted
I
he's
was gonna say
jacked,
he's
but
jacked, but he's
short.
still a short guy.
He's still a short dude. I'm willing to bet I could probably actually handle one better than him, or at least as well.
What are you anyway? Like
I'm 6'2", 240.
okay, yeah, then you
So
definitely
yeah,
could. You could definitely. You could step on him.
I'm not jacked the way he is these days, but I've got a significant size advantage on him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I'm saying, guys. That's all I'm saying.
Yes. I'm not trying to talk myself up, but I could beat up Rambo.
Right. Yeah, not what I'm saying at all.
Oh man.
I could probably go a few rounds with Rocky.
Mm-hmm. I think those would probably be my top three just right now. Thinking like off the bat without really putting a lot of thought into it, really.
Yeah.
But I think that's all I got. I mean, my throat's starting to get kind of ragged.
Understood. I would say one other quick thing from like, okay, you're buying one for the current circumstances in case society goes to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah. Okay.
One thing you want to keep in mind, especially if you're buying like a second or a third gun.
Yeah.
What kind of ammo did you see still available after things were crazy for a couple of weeks?
I saw where I'm at. Mostly a lot of just kind of oddball hunting rounds and stuff, like your 270 Winchesters, your 260
Yep.
Remingtons,
Yep.
7mm .08. But what I also saw was I think 38 Special is kind of out. I did see a lot of 10mm auto and 44 mag still in stock in places.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a 10 mil or a 44 mag, now's your time to like kind of grab what you can, I guess.
Yeah, and that's kind of that's one reason why I bought my Glock. Why I bought my Glock
Mm-hmm.
is because I noticed right away 9mm flew off the shelves.
Uh-huh.
223 was not far behind.
Yeah.
Actually, pretty much they were both gone like instantly. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I was like, okay, let's say things go to hell in a handbasket. What am I still going to be able to buy ammo for? If
Yeah.
we go into full dystopia and I'm roaming around, what might I still be able to stumble across ammo for?
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed, certain things. There were like still 357s were available. Around here, 357 was fairly plentiful. 45s were plentiful.
Yeah.
40 actually probably held on the longest for being
Yeah,
still widely available.
I think people don't like 40 very much, I've found.
It's like these days it's an oddball round.
It really is.
Because it's just a tiny bit bigger and more powerful than the 9mm.
Yeah.
And
I still would buy a 40. Like, honestly, I really want to go that route of getting a police trade-in Glock 22 because you could find them cheap, but also I would be that guy who's like, all right, drop in 9mm barrel, and there we go.
Yep.
That's where I'm at on it. But
but you can also convert that into a 40.
Yeah, back to a 40.
Nice.
Yeah.
That gives you actually some versatility if need be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I because I have a 40 cal handgun, I do have a lot of 40 cal ammo laying around, but
yeah.
I decided I'm actually done buying it. One, because I have a lot. One, because I only have one gun with one mag, and I'm like, okay, I've got more than enough to throw down if I need to with this thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so especially if you've already got a gun and you're looking for a second one, that's something to keep in mind. Like my next long gun is going to be probably some sort of AR-10 platform.
Ooh, nice.
And there's 7.62 or 308 or these days actually a lot of people are going to 6.5 Creedmoor rounds.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I noticed is of those, the far more widely available right now is 308. 308 Winchesters everywhere by me. So, I'll probably get that largely for that reason, that I can find it anywhere.
Everyone I've ever talked to about 6.5 Creedmoor, they're always like, yeah, I can make groups out to 1,000 rounds, and I'm like, it's more expensive. You're not really going to be shooting that far in combat, and also, why? I mean, 308, it stuck around for a long time for a good reason, and honestly, it's just good to have general workhorse rounds around anyway. Like, one thing I've heard is that 7.62 by 39 is actually still in stock in quite a lot of places. So even if you're primarily an AR guy, if you can buy an AK, it pays to have a lot of bullets to spam with if you need to for some reason. And
yep, exactly.
AKs are cheap to feed.
There you go. So anyway, I won't destroy your throat any longer.
Also, I wasn't gonna. It just started, but I don't know if it's my bandwidth. But you've gotten pixelated pretty hardcore.
Oh really?
It's like I'm talking to a PlayStation 1 texture.
Oh goodness gracious! Okay, maybe I'm getting throttled now. I don't know.
Oh man!
Apologies. I'm not seeing that on my end, fortunately.
I don't know if it's happening on to you guys either, but it's funny anyway.
To anyone who is seeing that. I think we will wrap it up for the evening.
Yes.
I hope this was helpful.
I think it's been fun
out there. If you've got questions, don't hesitate to DM.
Yes.
Or anything. And there's a ton of great YouTube videos out there.
Yes.
That will give you a lot of great info. But if you just want to know from a couple of guys who
just what we've goofed off with and how we do things,
don't hesitate to send a DM.
Yes.
And just ask. I mean, we communicate frequently about what we're getting, what we're looking at.
Yeah, we're always touching base on that kind of thing.
Absolutely. And so anyway, and given the circumstances, everybody get yourselves armed.
Yeah,
Please.
buy guns and ammo, please.
As much as you can reasonably afford. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks a lot there, Mr. Sutherland, for coming
Thank
by.
you.
Talking some pews.
Oh,
And,
yes.
we'll have to do it again sometime.
We do.
Yes.
Yes.
Talk about Mr. Wick. We didn't quite get to him today.
Oh,
And there's, with the new news that number 5 is filming right as soon as they're done with.
yeah, dear
4.
God.
Yeah, I'm
Whew.
not surprised actually. But anyway,
I'm not either.
Again, thank you for coming on, and everybody
Thank
out
you.
there, buy yourself some stuff.